Welcome, everybody, to a very special Tuesday night edition of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. My name is Jonathan Beardsley, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only Brandon May. Brandon, how are you doing this evening?
I am incredible this evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for joining me a night early. My schedule has gotten a little hectic this week. I appreciate you making time to talk about these albums. I know you couldn't wait to talk about this Drake for another few days, so I had to get you on the line.
Well, have fun at your show tomorrow, my man. I'm actually really excited to talk about all of this, man. We have some interesting music, and I think I might have some hot takes. So, you want to go over anything before we get started?
No, just the usual. If this is your guys' first time checking us out, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you like what you hear. We're going to try and timestamp everything so you can click to listen to whatever specific release you want to, but we prefer you listen to this thing beginning to end. We'll try and make it as pleasurable as possible. You can find us on Instagram at Brandon's Face. You can search us on Reddit at Brandon's Face. Anywhere else? Are we on any other social medias? I don't think we are. You can email us at info@brandonsface.com, right?
You absolutely can. I checked the email.
Okay. Yes, you can do that. Yeah, man, I think with that out of the way, you can also find us on all major podcasting platforms. We are going to be breaking down the previously mentioned new Drake album and 21Savage album this week, as well as a bunch of rock music. So please stick around for that. But I don't want your hot takes to cool any more than they already have, Brandon. So let's get straight into this.
Let's do it.
First up, we got a new one from S.G. Lewis called Lifetime. Give me your thoughts on this one.
This is indeed S.G. Lewis. It's funky, it's fun, it's full of life.
Yeah,
everything we've come to expect from S.G. Lewis.
It really is, yeah. I love the instrumental on this one. Great guitars, bass, strings, drums, all excellent. Vocals aren't bad, a little bit repetitive, but that is dance music, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we got a new one from Kaskade and Justus. This name is way too close to Justice for me. Okay, this one's called Dance With Me. I think that this sounded like a bot listened to Animals by Martin Garrix and then created a song of its own. That said, though, I don't hate it.
All right.
What are your thoughts on it?
So this is, it's like tech big room house. It's like tech house with like some big room sprinkled in.
It's like bordering on hard house, I guess.
Kind of. I don't know. I actually heard a set from none other than Hardwell. I think it was his Ultra performance. I don't know. I'll try to find it to throw it down in the show notes. But he played like a whole set of this style, which is outside of the realm of comfortability for him, I think. But it was a very interesting set, and I might have even sent it to you because I think you did. It was so different because techno doesn't have these build-ups, right? But there's build-ups in this. But it's house, but it's techno, but it's big room, and there's build-ups. I don't know. I really liked this. It's out of the norm for Kaskade, but if Kaskade puts out like a whole project like this, I'm sure I will like it.
I would definitely check it out. Next up, we got one you threw on here from Peking Duck and Circa Waves called Spend It. How are you enjoying this one?
All right, so we've covered some Circa Waves, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All right, they're this indie band working with Peking Duck, who is this house producer. I fucking loved this one, man. It sounds like a kind of like Mike Snow, but with like more house influence. I really, really liked this. Yeah, this was a pretty neat surprise, man, for a really big indie band or a really small indie band to be working with kind of a small-ish but kind of not really house producer. I think this was right on the money for both of them.
Yeah, it works. I like the Mike Snow comparison. It was kind of giving me some Portugal the Man vibes a little bit. Yep. But yeah, I actually had this briefly sorted under like indie rock because I saw Circa Waves and then I listened to it. I was like, oh shit, this is not that.
Nope, that's not that.
I like it, though. I like the clashing of styles.
Yeah, I think it fits really well.
Next up, we got the first single off BROCKHAMPTON's final album called The Family. This song is called Big Pussy, as said in the opening sample on the track. This song it's weird and eclectic, and it sounds like two different songs by the end of it. So it's pretty much what I expected from BROCKHAMPTON. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I loved the jazzy opening. The full track though is just it's full of power and old school energy, and I really liked
Yep.
it. Actually, I really liked it. Is this just Kevin, or is this both of them?
No. No, that's like three of them, I think.
Three
At
of
least
them? Oh, okay.
three or four of them, yeah.
Then I'm
Yeah, there's
tripping.
yeah. There's more than just Kevin on there for sure. All right. Next up, we got a semi new one from Jid. This is the track 2007. This was originally supposed to be the outro for his most recent album, but was pulled before the release due to clearance issues. I told you if he ever released it that I would throw it on the playlist so you could hear it.
Yes.
What did you think of it?
I am a huge fan of 7.5 minute JID tracks.
I knew you would be.
This is
I knew
great,
it.
dude.
Yeah.
A look into what it was like for him coming up, kind of almost like a victory lap. And I wish that it was included as the final song on A Forever Story because it really fits as kind of this victory lap for that monstrous album.
Well, he has released the expanded edition of the Forever Story, where it is the final song now. So the
Nice.
way he meant for it to be heard is now out. Although I think I fucked up and threw the clean version of this song on here, so that's my bad.
That's okay. I'll
All
forgive
right,
you this
thank you.
time.
Thank you for forgiving me, Brandon. All right, let's move into the rock realm of things. First up, we got a new one from AWOLNATION called We Are All Insane. Boo! Play the old stuff. I don't know. What do you think of this, man? I don't know.
All right. So I actually think that this is my favorite AWOL Nation track in years.
Hmm.
After the last one that we listened to, I was a little on the fence, and he did like an album of covers that we didn't talk about. I think it was last year. Um,
Thank you.
Look, man, he's never gonna recapture the magic of Megalithic Symphony. I don't think, but this song is a step in the right direction, in my opinion. I
No,
I,
I
I
agree
did
with
like this
you.
one.
I liked it a lot more than the last one of his we reviewed,
Yeah.
but it's still very much like a man. Now I just want to listen to Megalithic.
Right. I'm really glad that I got to see them during that tour. That was a
You should
very
be.
interesting set. They brought out Macy Gray. It was really weird.
When Coachella was Coachella, man.
Yeah, dude, for real.
Oh man. All right, man. Let's move on to this one you threw on here from a group called Shower Beers called Listen to Levels. It's a really good debut track from them. It's fun, it's catchy, it's got silly album art. I like it, man. I just want to know if they're talking about the song Levels by Avicii or
They are
another song
definitely
called
talking
Levels.
about the Avicii levels. They even do. It took me a few listens to catch it, but like in the background on the back half of this on like the second half of the song, you hear them doing the like the chant of the melody. It's
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
this was on repeat
Well
all
played
week,
then.
bro. This
Well
was on
played,
repeat
fellas.
all weekend or all
Yeah,
week.
this was a great one. I had this one going quite a bit as well.
Big fan. Great
How'd you
debut album,
find them?
guys.
This is their first song.
Saw it on Reddit. They were like, "Hey, we're this
Ah,
band. We're gonna be dropping this song. Pre-save it." And I was interested. I think they posted to the Pop Punkers forum, and I was like, "All right, fuck it. Let's check it out." Right? I like young music. I actually thought it was gonna be like super underproduced, but like, no, man, this is this is
it's
quality.
really
I'm
good.
I am excited to hear some more output from Shower Beers.
Say something I never thought I'd say. All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Youth Fountain called Speaking in Tongues. This song was released on the deluxe edition of his album Keepsakes and Reminders, and I think it's really good. I've only been listening to Youth Fountain for a few months now, but I've really enjoyed everything I've heard from him so far, this included. How are you feeling about him?
Huge fan. Like
Okay, good.
I've just been in this the I think it's Andy in The Office when he says, "Man, I wish we would know when we were in the good old days when they were actually happening." And I think we're in that for new pop punk. And I think you and I should take a moment and appreciate it like we have been this entire year. I think the next few years are going to be really good for the genre.
I
This is no
agree.
exception.
This podcast is our version of taking a moment to appreciate it
Yeah.
every week,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
All right, man. Let's move on. We got a new one from Insomnium called Lilian. Tell me about this.
All right, so Insomnium is a band that I've heard a lot about. A bunch of people have been talking about them online. I listened to a handful of songs, threw a couple of their albums on my listen to next, and I have subsequently neglected to put that playlist on for a long time. And then hit follow because I really liked the songs that I did hear, and lo and behold, we have a new single out here. So I haven't gotten a chance to dive into the rest of their discography, but they did release that. They did announce that they are going to be releasing an album. I think it's out early next year. I will confirm that by the next time we have a single from them, and it's about like the 1600s and like the witch hunts that were happening in Europe, and all surrounded by melodic death metal, and I am 100,000% here for that.
That sounds great.
Yeah, did you like this track? Because I really dug it.
Yeah, man, I dug it. I thought it was just some good Finnish metal. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
there wasn't much more for me to say about it. I have a question though.
Yeah.
Do you think facial hair is a requirement to be in this band?
I think definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think even if they were to hire a new band member on, they'd be like, well, we can't announce it for like 3 or 4 months. So you're gonna have to
Gotta grow the goat, bro.
you're gonna have to grow that a little bit. Here, let's put you in this ice cold cabin in Finland.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll put some hair on you. All right, man. Let's talk about this new August Burns Red track featuring Jesse Leach called Ancestry. I do not know who Jesse Leach is. Should I?
You absolutely should. He's the
Okay, who
original
is he?
and now current vocalist for Killswitch Engage.
Oh, okay. Wait, original. So he was pre-Howard and
I
now he's back, is what you're saying?
I think he started Killswitch Engage and then left to go do some other projects. They hired Howard. I could be wrong about this, but that's
No, no, that's
that's
interesting.
my
I've just
understanding.
never known that. That's interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that's fucking awesome. I love this song. I'm always a big fan of August Burns Red. My only note with them is just that I kind of wish they'd let moments breathe from time to time. Like they play music like they've got somewhere to be, you know?
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I love it for what it is. What are your thoughts on this one?
I really enjoyed this one. We actually have a new album announced from them called Death Below. I don't think we have a release date yet, but I am excited for it.
Probably sometime early next year.
Probably sometime early next year.
I will look into it. All right, man. Let's cap off the singles with this new Suicide Silence, capable of violence. It's very wild and heavy and raw and a lot of fun, and I like it, but I still just don't know how I'm feeling about this era of Suicide Silence. What are your thoughts on it?
I can't blame you for that. Look, we all mourn Mitch. We all mourn Mitch Lucker. In fact, the anniversary of his death just recently passed. I think he died on the 1st of November. But I think that Eddie can definitely front the band. They actually play on what you just said in the music video for this song. I have to throw it in the show notes, but you have to listen to it or watch it because it's absolutely hysterical. He plays
Okay.
the guitar solo with a severed hand. It is fan-fucking-tastic. And it starts off with these guys saying Suicide Silence, they're not even deathcore. And it really plays on that. So I highly recommend anybody who is a Suicide Silence fan to go check that music video out. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not quite the classic Suicide Silence, but they fucked with the sound. So they put out like a Deftones inspired record like
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, or something like that. And it was like booed off stage. I don't even think they toured for that. And if they did, they probably
Jesus.
didn't sell a lot of tickets because that record was kind of bad for a Suicide Silence record. But we'll see how the whole project shapes up. I think they may be leaning more into the death metal side of things instead of sticking with the deathcore crowd. But
I think so too.
that's okay. We'll see. Definitely watch the video for this one. It's hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. I will watch that as soon as we're done.
It's unnecessary, but it's hilarious.
Sounds great. All right, let's move on to the EPs. We got a couple this week. First up, we got a new one from Clearfight. Their EP, Don't Look at Me, has dropped. We reviewed The Hate Parade, I believe, is a single a
Yep.
week or two ago, and we both
Yep.
really enjoyed that. I saw this had been released, so I figured I'd throw it on. How are you feeling about it?
Look, man, when we covered Hate Parade, I got major hit the lights vibe from it, and the entire EP is just like that. I love this band, or I'm a big fan of this band, this EP, and I'm just itch. Give me more already. Like it's very good. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I thought the CP was really good, man. The Hate Parade is great. Ripcord and Save It are both really good. The only song I didn't really like was Dropout, but 3 out of 4 ain't bad. I enjoyed the CP.
Definitely not bad. Cool.
All right, let's talk about this new Goth Babe EP, Iceland. We have covered a lot of Goth Babe on this podcast, and it's all been quality stuff, man. We covered Surfing in Iceland as a single. A lot of the vibes on that song carry over throughout the EP, but the other 3 tracks are a little more electronic and experimental.
Yep.
Holy Tonight was my favorite of the new songs we got, but the whole EP is good. I liked it. Do you think there's any chance he follows this up with like a little Yachty collab called Iceland versus Poland?
One can only hope, man. One can only hope. Yeah, so this is the second EP from Goth Babe that's been location based. I think he did like a Santa Catalina Island EP or something like that. Look, man, no surprise here. I liked all of these, as I have basically his entire discography. I'm still hoping for a full project at some point rather than just an EP or just singles here and there. But and I hope we get one. But this will definitely hold me over for a while. All these tracks are just layered with synths and textures, like most of his music. I'm in Love actually was my standout on this one. It's just especially beautiful, man. Great use of synth textures and kind of vocal layers. They create this really ethereal kind of like vibe. Like it actually pulled emotion out of me, and I don't know. I really liked I'm in Love. So yeah, just a big fan of Goth Babe, man. Just a big fan.
Yeah, I've liked all of the music of theirs that you've showed me, or his that you've showed me, and this might be my favorite project to date. Really good stuff on here. All,
Agreed.
all right, man. You ready to talk about the albums?
Yeah, man.
Okay. So let's get into this Drake and 21 Savage album, Her Loss. This
Enlighten me,
dropped
John.
last Friday. This album is fucking terrible, man. Like I don't know how deep you're gonna get on this, but I like very broadly, the lyrics are bad, the flows are bad. There's a few decent instrumentals on here like Rich Flex and Spin About You, but beyond that, I found almost nothing about this enjoyable. I was gonna give this album a 2, but that Daft Punk sample pissed me off so fucking much that I had to knock it down to a 1. It's egregious. It should not
Oh
exist.
man.
I fucking hate this. I gave it another spin this morning, and I still felt the same way. I was like, man, the beat for Rich Flex is really good, and then there's like just some lyrics in there where I'm like, yeah, that's hard to like smile through, and then Spin About You, same exact thing, man. Um, yeah, I this one just is not for me in any way, shape, or form. I think Scorpion was where me and Drake just went our different ways, and that's that. But I'm very curious to know if you liked any more about this than I did.
I think I did, but I just
Please,
need I just
please.
need to mention back when Scorpion dropped, you and I were excited. We listened to the album and we
Hmm.
chatted about it. We were texting about it, and I remember when it dropped, and I texted you. I was like 18 fucking songs, bro. Um, that
Seems
seems to
light by today's
yeah. I was like that
standards.
seems to become the norm. All right.
Yeah.
So Drake, the type of dude to unironically say he part of a slaughter gang.
Oh, no.
I think this project is entirely corny, but I think it's a lot of fun to listen to. Like if you just stop paying attention to the lyrics, because the lyrics are pretty bad, man. I can't pretend it isn't exactly what we've been asking Drake for. It's look, man. Rich Flex is clearly the best track on here, but and like the beat switch is cool, but
Mhm.
and it kind of lets both of them shine for the majority of it, but mm, it, it's not like you said. It's not good, right? None of this
No.
album is like, oh my gosh, man, Drake is back, right? look, I've never been a giant 21 Savage fan, but I think he does better than Drake, and I think he fits more with the lyrical content of this record than Drake does. Drake, you can't pretend you're in a murder gang, bro. You're not slaughtering people. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense, man. One of my favorite lines is, I got street smarts, can't get this out no book. I can't right my wrongs, but I can still write these hooks. Is a great line.
Mhm.
Look, man, I think Back Outside Boys, I don't think that was a song that was written for Drake. I think that was a Lil Baby kind of sloppy seconds there. I think Drake just kind of picked up some lyrics from a bunch of artists who were dropping albums or whatever, and then like didn't use them, and then thought, watch, I'll drop an album and everybody's going to fucking love it because it's me on it. From all these unused lyrics. I don't really have much to say about it besides that, man. It's the best Drake album this year, so he's
Sure.
1 for 3, right?
Sure.
I'm not huge on it, but when I want substanceless trap music, which is not often, but it is something I like every once in a while, I might go more towards this than I would towards like a Da Baby or a Lil Baby or a Young Thug or a Gunna. You know, like this is better than that, and I think that is what has hip hop. That's what hip hop has been the past few years. And I don't know, man, I actually had a question for you. Do you think that this, cause I think that trap and the whole style that this is doing has been kind of slipping for a while and kind of fading off a little bit. We're actually seeing probably more pop punk and all the TikToks than we are Drake nowadays. Do you think that this spells the end for kind of this style of fake murder gangster rapping from these high profile Canadian Degrassi actors?
No, I actually don't. I wish it did, but no, I feel like pop punk that's completely separate in that's like more tangible with rock. Even though there is some bleed over, I get what you're saying. But like that tends to be what the algorithm will show you more right now. But I do think that there's still a big place in the culture for trap music and for it to do well in terms of social trends. It's hard to say if it'll go away. Everyone thought drill was kind of going to replace it in the next 2 to 3 years around the pandemic time. And I don't think drill really commercialized in the US the same way it has in the UK.
Right.
So, and Drake has honestly tried like watered down drill tracks before and they got no traction. So I don't really think that going away from the trap sound is necessarily going to happen anytime soon when he's going for a harder edge. He always has that like watered down Kanye chopped up soul type thing that he does on the non-trap songs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he's going to lean into that whenever trap isn't selling, but I think trap still sells.
So
I have a question for you.
Go.
Is this a Drake and 21 Savage album, or is this a Drake album featuring 21 Savage?
I think it's definitely more of a Drake album featuring 21 Savage.
I think that's the problem with it. Although, like 21 Savage, every time he's on a song, I'm not saying he redeems it. He does the same ad lib every fucking time. He ruins the opening track with the "You're on your period, will you suck it" line, which is just every time. Good God, man. Like, really? Come on, man. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know what other mixture of this formula would have worked better for me. Maybe none of it, but yeah, I had trouble with this, but I do think that it's going to do okay commercially. I think it'll do significantly better than his last album.
So one of the things I liked most about Scorpion was that like tracks like Emotionless were on that. And we got to see I guess maybe a more mature Drake. What do you think is next for Drake, man? We've got three albums this year? We've got Certified Lover Boy, honestly
That
never
was last year.
Oh, it was? Okay. So we've got two albums this year.
That might all be within 12 months actually. I
think it is, but look, man, so we've got 3 garbage, in my opinion, albums. I gave this a 3, and it's not a good score at all. But so like, what's next for Drake? How does Drake stay relevant? Do you think that this will stay relevant and will be wrong in the mainstream, or do you think the majority of people will like it for the first 10 listens and then be like, all right, this is out?
I think I think we get 2 years away from album Drake after this. I think he's gonna sit with this and he'll drop a few singles, he'll do features, he might drop like a Scary Hours 3 EP somewhere in there or a Rick Ross feature. But I think that he needs to go away for a year or two in terms of albums after this. Like he's hit the saturation point where even if it's selling, like he has zero cultural impact anymore. It's very forced. Like like not to keep going back to Scorpion because that's far from my favorite Drake album and not a great one. But you're right. Like beyond him just going like I'm the biggest pop star in the world, I'm gonna sample Michael Jackson and Mariah Carey on the same album because I can afford to. And on top of that, I'm gonna have a giant hit with God's Plan, which had a viral music video that went with it. And then the what was the other one? Kiki Dila, like that turned into a
Right.
huge viral thing too. I think when he was just, sitting in the studio and putting on giant pop productions, that's what really translates to people. But when he's trying to be this, as you say, slaughter gang person that everyone knows he's not, it's tough. It's a hard sell on the more commercial side of it. Like I think everyone's seen the Homer Simpson when he boxed Mike Tyson and then like they come in and kind of like grab him with a parachute and pull him out of the ring. Like that was very much Drake in the Pusha T fight with with
Right.
Jay Prince or whatever coming to save him. I don't know why he's saying Meg lied about getting shot on this album. Like that feels like an incredibly unnecessary thing to do. There's just I don't know, man. It's toxic misogyny and it's also just trademark Drake at this point. So it's like I'm disappointed by it, but I'm also not surprised by anything on here.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like more fire for his social media. The more mentions he gets, the more people are going to listen to his music and the more he'll stay relevant. And like you said, I think it's pretty
Hmm.
forced. So I don't know. I think we've talked about this dud of an album for long enough. What do you say we move on?
Let's move on, buddy. We got a new one from Magnolia Park called Baku's Revenge. Man, I am very excited to hear your take on this because you've been up and down on the arpeggiated hi-hats and their use of them. What did you think of their sound over the full course of an album? Did you like it? Did you not?
I did like it. You want me to jump into my
Yeah, no,
review here?
please
Great.
jump in.
All right. Maybe it's just me, man, but I feel like this is so overproduced. It's good, and I can't deny that, but there's just something so unpunk about this pop punk that makes me feel weird about it. That and the intro has major Good Charlotte complaining about people saying they weren't punk on their song Young and Hopeless energy to it. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, this album is catchy as fuck, and it's undeniably it's a lot of fun. I could do without the auto tune and the trappy hi hats like we've talked about to death on the show, but the more I listened to this record, the more I ended up enjoying them. I think the track "Drugs" is clearly meant to be a TikTok song because that chorus is sampleable like crazy. But according to the intro, I'm not allowed to call them a TikTok band, so I won't do that. I honestly give zero fucks about whether or not this is designed to get plays on that social media platform because, as the closing track says, this is banger after banger. I enjoyed it cautiously, but now I'm singing along with all the tracks because, like I said, the entire record is undeniably catchy. It's really fun. I think they did a really good job. I think they should keep it up and keep bringing people from the trap and the top 40 world into pop punk because without this kind of crossover appeal, maybe we wouldn't be in the renaissance that we're in right now. And that I got to give them a little bit of credit for.
Sure.
My standout was Misfits. I think that was the best song on the record. I gave it a 7, man. I really enjoyed it.
Interesting.
Give it
Okay.
the lower end of the spectrum 7, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about the next record also.
Yeah, no, these next two records kind of go hand in hand, and I agree with that too.
Right.
Here's my take, man. They are a good band, and this is a good album. There's a lot of things on this album that you don't typically hear on a pop punk album, like pitch shifted vocals and arpeggiated hi-hats. But I think that those are some of the things that make them unique. They have their own distinct spin on the genre, and it's not going to be for everyone, but it's not bad. And anybody saying that they're not a real pop punk band has no idea what they're talking about. I don't personally agree with the TikTok pop punk label, but I also don't think that's a bad thing. I think it describes the time they're existing as a
Yep.
band more than it describes their sound. Although some of the ways they experiment on songs like Ghost to You is definitely blurring the lines a little bit. I like when bands take chances like this, though, man. They don't all work, but it's important to try. And I think this album is paced well, it's sequenced well. I really wanted to roll my eyes at the intro, but the way it goes into Feel Something is pretty fucking cool. I really liked the weird ska fusion on Drugs, even though I do feel like that song's a little targeted lyrically. And I thought the outro was a solid track too. I enjoyed this album more than I didn't and more than I expected. I'm giving it a 6. My standout is Feel Something, but I feel like it could easily be a 7 on any other day too.
Yeah, I listen to it a lot actually, because again, it's fucking catchy and like you said, and I think reiterating kind of what I was saying, where it's like, okay, they're not a TikTok band, but they are definitely using that platform to gain popularity, and by doing things like that portion in the song "Drugs," or even just that entire chorus that kind of moves into this weird kind of phasey sound, I think that is deliberately targeted for spots on short social media videos, which is fine. That's totally fine. I might not agree with it, but it's totally fine, and it doesn't take away from the album like I thought it would. And the auto tune and the hi-hats don't take away from it as much as it did on the singles for the whole project for me, because it is super fucking catchy. So I'm glad you dug it, man. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. It was a good album.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's talk about the Cherie Amour album, Spiritual Ascension. We have not talked about this group at all. I found them when I was putting together that playlist, and I think I have a song or two of theirs on there that I enjoyed. Figured I'd throw this on. It was a slow week. What did you think of it?
All right. It is official. We are in the good old days, and we'll be talking about 2022 as the year that pop punk and emo resurfaced to the topsoil of the underground. I absolutely fucking loved this record, man. Probably a little more than I liked the Magnolia Park album, but they're actually going to
get zag the other way. Okay, I'm happy.
They're going to get the same scores, because the same things that I dislike about the Mag Park are here in the same capacity, like the auto tune and the same weird trap hi-hats are abound. But the things I like about the Mag Park album are also here in spades, plus some. What I really loved about this record is the heaviness that they have in some of the riffs. The riffs on this one are great, and the guitars are tuned like an early 2000s Sum 41 album. I really liked the R&B break and Letting Go. Overall, man, I think this young band has pretty large potential for lots of exposure in this specific area of marketing, which is, again, going back to the short social media videos. I think the genre blending on this one is done pretty tastefully, and I gotta respect that. Mind's Eye, that track has massive gym class heroes energy, and I am 1000% here for it. I particularly love all right. Cherie Amour is something I had seen before, and I'm thinking to myself, well, where the fuck have I seen this before? I've never heard this band. I've never heard of this band besides your playlist. So I was like, all right, let me fucking Google it. Turns out it's a Stevie Wonder song, and I went back and listened to the song, and the song from Stevie Wonder is a great song. Everybody should go listen to it. But Love's Not Your Thing is actually a continuation of that song's story. I think, judging by the lyrical content and the way that it's kind of delivered, and I think it's done pretty tastefully, man. The track is catchy as hell, and it's actually my standout. I also can't end this review without mentioning that intro, which is eerily similar to the Used in Love and Death album. Overall, I'll give this.
You're talking about Welcome or On Deck?
On Welcome.
Okay.
I think it's on Welcome.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like Donnie Darko sample. I didn't know if you were talking about, because On Deck is kind of an intro track too. It's like two intros on this album.
Yeah, it's one of those. So I actually gave it a high 7. I was trying to say like maybe it's in the same ballpark as Magnolia Park, but I actually, after like 15 subsequent listens of this 29-minute album, I actually ended up giving it an 8. My standout again is Love's Not Your Thing. It's very different, and it took me like 2 listens to kind of understand what they were doing, and they are doing some really weird stuff, and I can't hate on it, man. I just can't hate on it. What were your thoughts on Cherie Amour's? Is this their debut?
Um, so the song I threw on of theirs, I think, was a single. Yes, this is their debut album.
Nice. What did you think of
Yeah,
Cherie Amour's debut album, John?
man, I thought this album was very ambitious. It feels like a pop album that occasionally turns into a rock album or vice versa. I don't really know. It's hard to tell at times when you're listening to this. But I enjoyed it, man. Songs like Sin City and Losing Control and Love's Not Your Thing show a lot of potential. But I thought there was a few duds for me on here, like On Deck and In My Head. Also, based on the name and intro, I was expecting the concept and theming to be a little more extensive throughout this album. But all of that aside, I enjoyed this quite a bit, man. I think Sin City is my easy standout. I really enjoyed that one, but man, there's so many good songs on this album to choose from. But I have it score-wise in the same exact realm as you. It's like in that 7 range.
Yeah, it really did take me by surprise, man. And this one coming on right after Magnolia Park, kind of like every time that transition happened, I was like, oh man, this is just, we are in the throes of it, man. This is a
Yes, we are.
renaissance, dude. Like fuck.
Yeah, man. Both of these albums back to back were a lot of fun. I had a lot of good time with those ones this week.
I think so. I did also.
All right, man. Let's move on to this Misery Index album, Complete Control, that you threw on here. Apparently, you've been waiting to throw this one on for a while. Now that
Sure
you
have.
finally got to, what do you want to say about it?
All right, so this record actually did release on Friday, May 13th. I've held on to this one for a while. We've had some pretty busy weeks, and we've had some more, what's the word, engaging metal that we've listened to. And so
Sure.
I kind of wanted to throw it on when we had a slow week, so let's do it. So I've actually been a fan of Misery Index for a few years. I found out that their vocalist and the founder of this band was actually an early '90s founding member of Dying Fetus, but left right before they started to record their album Stop at Nothing back in 2002, 2003, one of those. I'm not sure if you recognize the vocal style from Dying Fetus's early couple of albums, but it's kind of iconic for me. Him and John Gallagher kind of go back and forth, and they've got this really cool dichotomy of vocals on the first couple albums. All right, so this is actually their 10th studio album, and they are showing no signs of slowing down here. I'm a big fan of this record, and I really like the political themes that they have going on here. I love it when a band can be political but not overtly partisan. I think that fits very well into the death metal genre. The things I love about this record, there are some masterful tremolo pickings, bass lines that are clear and concise yet sprawling throughout the tracks.
Yeah.
There's lyrical imagery that like shines darkness on everything. The song "Administer the Dagger" as an opener is just fucking crushing. The track "Necessary Suffering" brings out their clear hardcore influence with those riffs that just kind of tear through everything and the drum grooves that happen throughout. The track "Conspiracy of None" pulls a trick from Cannibal Corpse's song "Gallery of Suicide" and kind of slows things down with like a really intricate guitar work that then bleeds into those heavy grooves. Love that. The bass intro onto Reciprocal Repulsion is basic yet intricate, and again kind of highlights the band's hardcore roots. Now Defied sees the band pull from their early death metal roots, and kind of machine gun vocals really tie the room together here. That guitar solo is just icing on the cake, man. I really like this album, and if we had a death metal specific category for our end of the year podcast, I think this record would be high on that list, but I don't think it's quite gonna get into my in my year end or my honorable mention portion of the rock in general category. My standout on this record was Conspiracy of None. I gave it an 8. What did you think about Misery Index's sound and album?
I thought it was good, man. I don't really see it making me want to listen to Death Grind any more than I already do for this podcast, but I thought it was good as somebody who doesn't typically listen to or like this genre. Like this album shreds, it rips, it does all of the verbs you want to hear when you listen to a metal album like this. My favorite tracks were the title track, Complete Control, and Conspiracy of None. The rest were really good though, man. I didn't dislike anything on here. I give it a solid 7.
Nice. Hey, I'm glad you really liked it, man.
Yeah, I was surprised too for like a death grind band that that I enjoyed it as much as I did. I listened to this one just as much as I listened to like the previous two albums,
Hell
so
yeah.
it's a good
Hell
one.
yeah. All right, man.
Let's talk about 2 hours of Devin Townsend now.
It's like an hour and a half, right? Or
Oh
is
my
it?
God, man. Okay, so I didn't like I listened to this on my like work drive Friday. I did not see the deluxe edition track. And you were like, I accidentally threw the deluxe edition on. Do you want me to take it off? And I was like, I've already heard it. Like, just leave
Right.
it. But my album review is for the entirety of the deluxe edition. So whether he intended for this to be the experience or not, this is how I experienced it. And my experience was fucking weird, man. The tone is all over the place
Oh
for
my
this
god.
album. It's messy. Like there's some really cool shit going on, but it's a mess. It starts out more or less as an experimental pop album before briefly turning into a prog rock and metal album before essentially becoming a playlist on shuffle. Like, oh man, like I said though, there's really cool shit going on throughout this album. My personal favorite moments are the heaviest ones. Heartbreaker, Dimensions, Sarcasm Part 2, Factions, all fantastic songs. But there's a lot of what the fuck moments on this album, man. The weird Christmas core breakdown at the end of
I
Heavy
know.
Burden, the incessant blast beat on Stampy's Blaster. I guess the name of the
Oh
song should
man.
have warned me. And
Oh man.
literally everything that's fucking happening on Precious Sardine. I felt various levels of indifference towards most of the rest of the album that I didn't mention. This one's in like the 4 to 5 range for me personally. Had I listened to maybe a little more succinct version of it, it might be a notch or two higher for me. But I think my standouts would just remain the only moments of this album I really enjoyed. What I think if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go Dimensions just because that song's heavy as fucking awesome. What did you think of this album? You're a little more open-minded to this eclectic style when it comes to rock than I am.
My man, thank you so much for that review. Because was this the first Devin Townsend entire album you've ever listened to?
Let me see. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Great.
definitely it is.
Fantastic. All right. That's perfect because you reviewed this record perfectly. I'm going to reiterate everything you said here in my review, but let's just get into
Please
it.
go for
All right.
it.
So I just need to take a second though and state that Devin Townsend has made some absolute classics in the prog rock metal world, and his 1997 effort Ocean Machine is standing out as my favorite of his. I highly recommend you listen to that one because it's definitely going to be more up your alley. Look, man, I knew from
For
the
sure.
singles that this record was going to be a little lighter, a little softer than what we've gotten from him in the past, and that's okay, right? I like softer prog rock stuff, like Steven Wilson's solo stuff. I like that stuff a lot, right? And I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd and shit. Like I like softer, lighter prog rock stuff, but oh man, I don't think Devin Townsend is suited for this. It's evidenced in the clear comfortability he finds on the heavier tracks like Dimensions, and on the deluxe edition, he clearly helps himself to a heap full of heavy here on Sarcasm Part 2, Stampy's Blaster, Factions.
Yep.
Clearly he can do that, and he can do it very well. The rest of the record, like you said, is all over the fucking place, man. It's a little bland and uninspired, even. I have to say, I do really love the lyrical content on the majority of this record. It's love, it's light, it's overall happiness, it's overcoming hardships. I'm a big fan of that. I'm just not a big fan with how much restraint he tried and ultimately failed to incorporate. I have said
Yeah.
many times on this podcast, and I'll say it again, restraint can show off your best attributes. And when done well, there's clearly an artistic showcase that can come from it. This ain't it, Chief. This just ain't it, man. I was so I if we had just gotten a soft kind of poppy prog rock record, it would have been great. But because he needed to throw the heaviness in there, it really threw everything off. Because again, you go from you go from Moon People to fucking Dimensions, and it's like, what are you doing, man? This is pick a fucking lane, Devin. All right, I gave it a 5 because again, I did like a lot of this song, a lot of this album, but my standout is Factions. But if I had to choose from the album and not the deluxe album, I would choose Dimensions. But I
Same.
think as any prog rock artist would want. They would want you to listen to 2 hours of fucking prog rock. So I think Factions is my standout just because it's heavy in all the right ways, and this was just a weird experience, man. And I'm kind of glad that you also had a weird experience with it.
Yeah, I was driving. I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore with this one, but it's interesting.
Listen to Ocean Machine. I think
I'll
you're
throw
gonna
that
see.
on my listen to next.
Yeah, I mean, Devin Townsend is. I'm actually surprised to see him at the bottom of this list. I thought that he was more popular than this because in the
You
prog.
know, he might have been. I felt that the Magnolia Part Cherie Amour albums went so good back to back that I moved Cherie Amour up.
Got it.
There was just too much of a cohesion between those two to separate
Oh,
them.
that makes a lot of sense, man. Because I was like, is this real?
No,
But
no,
no,
Devin should be higher than them.
yeah, man, it was weird. But listen to Ocean Machine, you'll like it. I promise.
I will check that out, man. You want to know what we're going to be breaking down next week?
I sure do.
We got new albums from Action Adventure, LS Dunes, and Nas, as well as new music from Yuna, Pierce the Veil, and a few others. It's going to be maybe not stacked in terms of quantity, but definitely quality.
Nice. Yeah, that's gonna. Whew. All right, Nas, show us what's happening. All right, everybody.
Cannot wait for that.
We'll see you
Yes,
guys next
please.
week.
Check us out. Follow the link below. Check out the rotating playlist. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.